Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Newsbeat here on Good Afternoon Ghana. My name is Accra Ababil. We're streaming live on Facebook at Metro TV Ghana. We're also live on DSTV channel 277. Now let's begin from here. And the Ghana Immigration Service has commenced a nationwide operation to address the presence of undocumented migrants across major cities with a particular focus on Accra. The exercise forms part of the service's ongoing efforts to enforce immigration regulations and enhance national security. My colleague Moses Desire Kuyo has followed up on the operation and provided further details on its execution and impact.
The Abani and a Yepa, a sunset, or mobile and Kenya Bonnie, but almost to me, only back home, better, or money, dear Samuel, I'm a funny be yard, even we are pim for a dear new for one thing. It's the Abani and a Yepa, sir, or better, sir, or wrong the poor, now over Boma, migration for no sooner, or one by says, you know, be intimate from the ban, or makes my essay, you understand, say, me a man, or more honor, or finding no matter what they are, a bit my eye for, a bit more Muniati, and that would walk for one when you're not boy. See the Abani and the Yanabo, or my bamboo seminal, a Muniati, send you a year. Foreigners need to say, I'm not how that blow, man. It's in the room, come may say, man. It's the way I near. I don't know. Because they say, Sunny and Panana cross room. Only you cannot the car information. It's the best in all. We are also with their politics. Even America, we report in the back. If we having it, and now free, sir. Because I know more than a process. How they are not the care forms. Or how best I know the Bremo area. They say, what shall you want? All and near the address in the Agrochemical. And I will jump and also rough for the immigration in your place.
So we're currently at the headquarters of the Ghana Immigration Service in the aftermath of a decongestion exercise that took place this morning, where over 1,000 street children and their guardians were picked up and they've been brought to the premises of the Ghana Immigration Service. The media has been hovering in and around the premises to be able to get more details from the Ghana Immigration Service, but they are not willing to engage us, and have said that they will only speak to the media after 12 p.m. But from our sightings, we noticed that the trucks of the Ghana Immigration Service kept bringing in some of the illegal migrants, and they've brought them into a yard very close to the headquarters. And clearly, in response to some of the claims that they've been subjected to inhumane treatment, the Ghana Immigration Service is doing its best to dispel that notion. So once you go inside, you notice that they've erected canopies to provide shade. They've also made sure that there are mobile toilets to be able to assist the migrants do the needful. Additionally, they visited major hotspots like Abosoka and Carnation, the OBJB interchange. And this is in response to calls that these migrants have become a nuisance on our streets. And the Immigration Service is saying it's part of broader efforts to make sure that they clean up and decongest the streets of Accra. And so the Metro News team is going to be following up the developments and make sure that we bring you the latest in this development story.
Away from that, the mayor of Accra, Michael Alote, has issued a final ultimatum to street traders operating illegally on pavements and busy roads in the capital, giving them until Tuesday, May 20, to vacate or face forcible removal. Addressing the press on Thursday, May 15, the Accra mayor said the Accra Metropolitan Assembly will no longer tolerate unauthorized street trading, which continues to pose safety hazards and contribute to urban congestion.
Time to make empty promises. From the day I enter office, I said one thing to myself: I'll make sure Accra will be clean. And it's a promise I made to myself alone. But today, I'm making the promise out there to each and every one of us to know that the streets are not for selling. The streets are a place where cars and it's not a place that we have to engage petty tradings on the pavements, now they have taken almost half of the streets. But if I wait till something happens, they will come attack the mayor of the city. So as the mayor of the city, I cannot watch this to happen. So on Tuesday, we are starting from Okaishin, we'll move straight to Circle and Carnation. So please, we are not after anybody. We are not coming because we have the power to move you from the street. No, we want to keep the city clean. One thing I want to say is that when you want to clear the streets, sometimes it may seem that you don't have feeling for the people on the streets. But that is not what we are saying. What we are saying is that we have engaged the market women, we have engaged the GPLTU, we have engaged the police. So we beg you, on Tuesday, we are coming to clear the streets. So please move before we get there. And this promise I'm making to you, I'll make sure I stand by it. And by Tuesday, when you have not moved, we will move you.
Now let's take you to the Upper West region, where President John Dramani Mahama has noted government's intention to construct a new expressway between Accra and Kumasi to significantly reduce travel hours between the roads. And delivering his remarks on his thank you tour of the Upper West region on Thursday, the president disclosed that his cabinet will soon approve priority projects as part of the National Democratic Congress's Big Push campaign pledge. President Mahama said government is set to sanction a dualization program of major highways across the country.
Cabinet will soon approve priority projects under the Big Push infrastructural program. Understandably, a significant number of these priority projects will be in the road sector. These works include the dualization of major highways, including the Accra-Kumasi, Accra-Takrade, Accra-Aflawo roads. We'll also tackle major bridges such as the Dambai Bridge, the Chiamanfrom Bridge, rehabilitation of the Bupe Bridge, Daboya Bridge, and Yape bridges. We're also designing a new expressway between Accra and Kumasi, which will reduce the travel time between the two largest cities in Ghana to about 2.5 hours.
Dramani Mahama has also highlighted what he describes as early signs of economic recovery under his administration, citing the strengthening Ghanaian cedi and declining market prices as evidence that recent policy measures are beginning to pay off. Speaking at a Deba in Wa in the Upper West region on Thursday, May 15, as part of his nationwide thank you tour following his 2024 electoral victory, President Mahama outlined his government's efforts to restore economic stability since taking office earlier this year.
Since taking over the reins of government, our focus has been on stabilizing the economy. We therefore presented to Parliament in March this year a budget which was aimed at severely trimming expenditure and channeling the saved revenue into priority programs as promised in our manifesto. I'm happy to report to you that our efforts to stabilize the economy have begun to yield results. And it is evident in the improved performance of our local currency and also a gradual reduction of prices of goods and services in the market. I wish to commend the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, along with their teams, for the close collaboration and coordination they are displaying in this economic turnaround. I'm sure that by the time the Honorable Minister comes back to Parliament to present his mid-year review budget in August, we would have more good news for Ghanaians.
Now let's turn our attention to health, and the Ghana Health Service has confirmed that 2 cases of Mpox have been recorded in Accra. The Acting Director General of the GHS, in a press statement issued Thursday evening, explained that upon confirmation of these 2 cases, the Ghana Health Service has immediately initiated contact tracing efforts to identify individuals who may have come into contact with the confirmed cases. Now, Mpox is a viral disease that is transmitted to humans through close contact with an infected person or animal, or with material contaminated with the virus. The Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service has reassured the general public that there is no cause for widespread alarm, as Ghana's public health system remains vigilant and established protocols for the detection, management, and control of infectious diseases are being rigorously followed. Now let's turn to the video wall to learn more about the disease. Similar to smallpox, while the virus can spread to humans from an animal host, such as rodents, or non-human primates, such as monkeys, the virus can also spread between people, and it has 4 stages undergoes. Now, here are some causes of Mpox. Mpox is caused by the monkeypox virus, which can infect both humans and animals. Now, one can be infected through direct contact with the blood or skin of an infected animal, through consumption of inadequately cooked meat, and through... Now, let's take a look at some of the symptoms of monkeypox. We have fever, chills, fatigue, rash that progresses from flat lesions to raised pustules and scabs, often concentrated on the face, feet, and arms. We also have swollen lymph nodes. Now, how to prevent Mpox? You should avoid contact with infected individuals or animals. Also, use protective equipment, example, gloves and masks, when caring for an infected person. Also, wash hands frequently with soap and water. Now, monkeypox is a preventable and manageable disease when appropriate precautions are taken. While it's less severe than smallpox, the potential for outbreaks requires global awareness and preparedness. Now let's move away from health, and the Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture, John Dumelo, has assured farmers in the Greater Accra region that efforts are underway to reclaim their farmlands, which have been encroached by unauthorized individuals. He said this when the ministry distributed bags of fertilizers to some farmers within the Adentan municipality of the Greater Accra region.
Through the Feed Ghana project initiative distributed over 1,000 bags of fertilizers to farmers within the Adentan municipality. The move is aimed at modernizing agriculture, create jobs, reduce food inflation, and foster agro-industrial development. Handing over the bag of fertilizer to farmers, Deputy Minister of Agriculture John Dumelo reaffirmed government's commitment to recovering government lands which has been lost to private individuals.
Hitherto they were farming on, and now they've taken it away from it, and we assured them. Of course, during our campaign, we said all government lands will be given back to those encroachers. We are going to take the lands back to the government, and so of course when we do that, we can give some to the farmers just to farm for the meantime, because most often than not, it is not all the food items that come from outside Accra. We must also encourage farming in Accra, and we must also listen to their concerns and see how best we can address them.
Bright Demoji, the national coordinator of the Feed Ghana program, urged farmers to form cooperatives to better position them for government support.
We want the farmers to increase their yield and get more money. We want money in the pocket of our farmers. That's why we are saying that if we are going to give input, the input must go to the farmers. And how do you get the input? How does the input get to you? You must form cooperatives, so that if you don't know, somebody will know.
Beneficiary farmers in the Adentan municipality expressed appreciation for the ministry's intervention, hoping their broader concerns would also be addressed.
So we are expecting that they will allow the aviation land to have been there for us to be able to engage in our farming activities. But unfortunately, developers have encroached almost every single part of it. No land is available at aviation. We have tried, we've written letters to various organizations, including the ministry, the agri department at Adenta, and nothing seems to be working. So I'm pleading, the media, you should also help us. If we finish selling the entire lands in Ghana or in Accra, where do those of us that are in Accra, where do we expect to produce fresh crops for the population? At this point that we are in, this year, the people of Medina, Adenta, and its surroundings, you will not get fresh things to buy because our land is virtually reduced.
The ministry's gesture follows requests made by farmers through the Ignite Media TV show Ekwiafomo, which airs on Original and Metro TV.
In more news this afternoon, Women in Forest GH has trained more than 3,500 students in forest trading. The initiative by the organization is to help create more insights and knowledge on the digital financing industry, especially forest trading. There's more in this report.
The training by the partner Key to Markets International Group is part of its financial literacy education in the secondary schools. At the Ya Asantua SHS, financial analyst and president of Women in Forest, Gifty Sika Ano, called on government to also support the organization in teaching financial literature in schools to help reduce scam or fraud in the system, adding that this project would help them in understanding cryptocurrency and much more. She additionally advocated for more people to be empowered in this aspect for the benefit of all.
We need to emphasize and advocate for a lot of education and activities like what we just had in Yasantoa, because the government is not really backing it, and then the syllabus does not even promote this sort of trainings. And then these girls or these high students who grow and then go to the university and have no sense of saving or investment knowledge, and then they go in there and then they get their salaries and they come back, and then the poverty keeps on recycling. So it's now that it's needed for us to catch them young, teach them how to save, invest, so that the little that they get, they are able to save it and use it wise. I'm hoping for the government to be open-minded about such programs, for high schools and the administrators to open their minds to such programs as financial literacy education.
Speaking to the head of academics of Ya Asantua SHS, Samuel Abochi mentioned about the impact of forest training, which he said can broaden the knowledge of students and make them financially free.
In this era, there is a need for financial education, where irrespective of the sector you are learning, whether business, science, arts, any other program, you need some level of business education. With forest trading, you can even be doing something else and still be doing it. So it's something that is going to help the younger ones get employment, and even if they are in other employment, they can also equally benefit from.
Some students of the schools appreciated Forex Ghana and their partners to Key Markets International Group for the training.
That is a good idea because, honestly speaking, I knew very less about Forex, about brokers, what they do, and all about finance, but they have got to learn a lot of things. And I think it's a very necessary something. Every school should have this.
To have knowledge about foreign exchange so that in the near future we can't be exploited, we can't be cheated in any way, and also engage in these things to help us broaden our knowledge and also help us to engage in other professions.
The teachers of the school also called on the government to introduce similar studies into the curriculums to make students financially free.
Now, the Acting Commissioner of Insurance, Dr. Abiba Zakaria, has urged new graduates of the Ghana Insurance College to uphold integrity and diligence as they prepare to contribute meaningfully to Ghana's insurance sector. She was speaking at the 18th graduation ceremony by the college.
At the 18th graduation ceremony by the National Insurance College, the Acting Commissioner of Insurance, Dr. Abiba Zakaria, emphasized that the insurance sector requires constant innovation and ethical leadership for growth. She uncovered the importance of the sector, embracing advanced technologies in order to design solutions to meet the growing needs and demand of the public.
Living with just your qualification, you are also living with the responsibility to uphold integrity and lift up the banner of insurance while avoiding the practices that compromise insurance. In this era where instances of malpractices and ethical concerns occasionally rise in the insurance industry, this powerful statement emphasizes the need for integrity, courage, and unwavering commitment to do the right thing, especially in an industry such as insurance, where ethical principles are paramount.
Director of Ghana Insurance College, Richard Autry, reminded the graduates that their next phase would require more dedication
to facilitate harmonization of insurance regulation and education in line with African Continental Free Trade Agreements, particularly in the financial sector, the GIC and CIG of Ghana, and then the Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria have formed a review committee to develop a framework on mutual exemption and recognition of professional certification of the two countries. It is optimistic that if such agreement goes through, similar approach should be replicated in other African countries, which will eventually lead to a unified professional insurance qualification on the African continent.
President of the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International Ghana, Baba Mahama, was the guest speaker at the event.
Digital transformation is sweeping across our world. Many insurance companies in the first world, for reasons of improved customer satisfaction and efficiency, have taken the bold step of developing digital-first infrastructures that incorporate the latest technology from the outset. In fact, virtual assistants, chatbots are now commonplace.
Altogether, 254 students graduated the graduating class of 2024, comprising 14 graduates with certificates in insurance and 141 with diplomas in applied insurance studies.
And away from that, operatives from the National Security have stormed the residence of former GIHOC Distilleries Managing Director Maswell Kofi Juma early Thursday in an attempt to recover state vehicles reportedly in his possession. Now, sources indicate that Maswell Kofi Juma is currently under investigation for alleged financial impropriety during his tenure, including the questionable acquisition of state vehicles and mismanagement of company assets.
Former appointee under ex-President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was not present at the time of the operation. A letter dated August 1, 2019 from the Board of Directors of GIHOC approved Kofi Juma's purchase of a Genesis G90 saloon car with registration number GE8622-19 in accordance with his condition of service as managing director. The vehicle, originally valued at $100,000, was sold to him at just 5% of its value, that's 4,943 cedis, as confirmed in a letter signed by the company's secretary and head of administration. The 2018 model vehicle has 33,000 capacity engine and a mileage of 38,971 kilometers and a seating capacity of 5. A technical inspection assessed key components such as the engine, transmission, suspension, brakes, steering, and electrical systems to be in good condition with no history of prior maintenance. An independent valuation conducted by the State Transport Corporation placed the car's value at 98,000 cedis. Maxwell Kofi Juma is also being investigated for allegedly retaining 2 additional official vehicles, including an Audi valued at $60,000 without formal approval from the board. Reports indicated that he later directed security personnel to return the vehicle, noting that one had been in possession of his son. As of now, one of the vehicles has been successfully retrieved and transported back to Accra. Further allegations include claims that the former GIHOC boss inflated the staff numbers, placing financial pressure on the company. He is also accused of selling company properties in Tema valued at over $700,000 without proper authorization.
Now let's do some more news this afternoon, and the National Service Authority says it has saved over 1 million cedis for the state following a successful removal of more than 2,000 ghost names from its payroll. The Director General, Felix Jemfi, noted the cleanup exercise is part of ongoing efforts to enhance transparency and eliminate fraud within the scheme.
The Director General, Felix Jemfi, disclosed that the data of service personnel will now be shared with the Controller and Accountant General's Department for cross-verification to prevent duplication and unauthorized entries. On April 30, the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, announced that former National Service Authority directors implicated in the ghost name scandal will be formally charged in the first week of May 2025. The development follows a directive by President John Dramani Mahama for a full investigation into the discovery of over 8,000 suspected ghost names on the NSA payroll. The anomaly was identified during a nationwide headcount of active national service personnel, according to presidential spokesperson and Minister of Government Communications Felix Kwachi Ofosu. The audit commissioned by the Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atuforsen was part of efforts to reconcile and clear outstanding service allowance arrears dating back to August 2024. On March 20, the National Investigation Bureau interrogated the former executive director of NSA, Osei Asibienchi, over his alleged involvement in the payroll fraud.
Now, on our Tidy GA segment this afternoon, Senior Research Fellow at the University of Ghana Faculty of Agric, Professor Ken Fennin, has urged management of the Accra compost and recycling plant to come up with innovative ways of managing and recycling agrochemical plastic waste into useful products. This, he says, will go a long way to address plastic pollution caused by agrochemical products. He spoke during a familiarization visit and a tour of the Accra compost plant by the Agric faculty of the University of Ghana.
Looking at our project, there are 5 components, and one of the key things is to see how we can collaborate with them to sort out most of the organic waste into making of the compost, which can be used in agriculture, and then also the plastics. And our focus is on agri-plastics. That's the plastic that comes as a result of agrochemical use and agriculture-related activities. So we have had a very nice discussion and collaboration together with EPA and all other partners on this national project to see how we can partner with them so that most of these plastics can be recycled into other products, and especially looking at the agri-plastics. That one need a special process, how we can also take them out of the system to ensure our environment is safe.
And that's all for the news updates this afternoon. My name is Accra Babio. Stay with us as Ifwando continues with the rest of the program after this break.
Whether you're a wholesaler, retailer, or consumer, MNC Logistics and Trading is your trusted partner in minerals and food commodities trading. Experience the difference with MNC Logistics and Trading for your commodities trading. We operate a well-equipped laboratory that smelts and assays gold to ensure transparent, credible, and reliable minerals transactions. Our general food commodity market deals with imports and exports of food products such as rice, sugar, and grains. We pride ourselves on delivering products that meet the highest standards of quality and taste. With our expertise in international trading and logistics, we bridge customers far and wide. Call us on 030-299-8246 or visit our website www.mnclogisticsandtrading.com. MNC Logistics and Trading, hub of confidence.
So much love in the air. What are we looking at?
Thank you guys for joining us on this unforgettable night.
Paw Patrol is on a roll.
It's Max Verstappen in the lead. The megastar is here.
Absolutely sensational.
Let's go!
Just taking a trip down memory lane.
Get unbelievable entertainment that is unbelievably easy to own. Get and stay connected to DSTV.
Hello, good afternoon to you. This is Good Afternoon Ghana. My name is Ifwa Ando. Good afternoon to you and welcome once again. This afternoon we're looking at three issues. We're looking at the Ghana Immigration Services operation where they're clearing major cities in Accra of undocumented migrants. So we'll be crossing over to our men out there to find out how far they have gone with this operation. And we'll be also speaking with the Ghana Immigration Service to find out how far they have gone with this operation. We'll also be looking at the CD appreciation. We have Professor John Gachi. He'll be joining us to speak to that. And then Dumso looms. We'll find out if that's the case. Is that what we should expect? Because the energy minister has allayed fears. He said we shouldn't worry. That's not what's going to happen. And they're doing everything possible to ensure that our lights are kept on. So we'll be looking at these three issues very shortly, but first, the Minister for Energy and Green Transitions, John Jinapor, has moved to allay public fears of an impending power crisis, assuring Ghanaians that the government is taking proactive steps to ensure a continuous electricity supply, urging the public not to panic. John Jinapor stated categorically that the situation is under control. The minister's comments come amid rising concern over Ghana's energy supply. The minister said government remains committed to ensuring uninterrupted power supply or power delivery access across the country.
In energy sector, either you call it subsidies, under recoveries, or shortfalls. This year, it is estimated at over 30 billion in terms of the shortfall. Yesterday, we had a session with the finance minister, and a lot of the people here were there. We require about $1.1 billion to procure liquid fuels alone. Unfortunately, and the PRC is here, the liquid fuel is not part of the tariff structure. And so you will be buying close to $15 billion of liquid fuel, and that has to be paid by the central government because it's not part of the tariff structure. As if that is not enough, what you call the reserve margin, which is a necessity, because you just don't bring plants to meet exactly what you consume. What if one plant goes off for maintenance or any situation? That is not also part of the tariff structure. More importantly, the tariff itself, ECG, is unable to collect all the monies. And so you're having a deficit of about 2 billion cedis every month when it comes to ECG's collections. When you add that deficit and you add the fuel, which is not part of the pass-through, you are looking at over 30 billion. Car Power has just sent us a letter that by 18th, they will shut down the plant because we owe them more than $400 million. IPPs alone, we owe them $1.7 billion. As I sit here, this morning, my headache is how to get the next parcel of liquid fuel. The fuel we have to take us 2.6 days. We've placed orders in ECG's operations. It does not entirely solve the problem, but it takes us to another level. Because if the collections are reduced from the 40% to say 5%, it means that we'll be collecting more. Cabinet has also adopted the position, we'll brief you, Chairman, all MMDAs are supposed to pay for the electricity bills. They have to budget for it. We've identified what we call critical institutions. They include the health sector, the education sector, the security agencies, and the presidency. Even with that, so if you take the health sector, is the theaters, the laboratories, the wards that will be exempted. If you take the educational institutions, dormitories are not part. Restaurants are not part. Only lecture theaters. And so we've classified that. And Cabinet is granting the approval and will publish that. Even what we term as critical institutions, the Minister of Finance will have to budget for it and pay.
John Jinapor there, he's the energy minister. We'll speak to the public relations officer of the energy ministry shortly. But the executive director for the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Insia, has urged calm over the energy minister's assertion that the country has only 2.5 days of fuel left for power generation. According to Insia, there is no need for panic. The minister should communicate issues in the power sector more effectively to avoid sending wrong signals to the public. He spoke in an earlier interview on Newsnight.
Cause for alarm, and I think that in some of these meetings, the minister must know when to communicate in camera and when also to mention some of these things on camera. Because stating that we have only 2.6, which is less than 3 days of emergency fuel, we found in the minds of Ghanaians that we are in a critical situation that without it, industries and maybe households may suffer. And it creates certain psychological concerns in the minds of Ghanaians that we are likely going to be in doom so in the coming days. I think that is not the case because for now, all the sources of natural gas are flowing in. Now, the minister also mentioned that, yes, emergency fuel with huge amounts being mentioned, and is expecting the end user to should pay for that. I think that that argument does not also stand because since 2015, the end user, who is also a petroleum user, has always been paying for energy sector debt. We've been paying energy sector debt through energy debt recovery levy. In 2021, we added energy sector recovery levy onto these particular levies, and we have always been paying. So the argument that we don't pay for emergency power, we don't pay for reserve margin, I think the argument doesn't stand. If the minister wants us to stop paying for reserve margin or wants us to stop paying the ESLA and then fix that in our energy electricity tariff structure, then they should let us know so that at least the petroleum user stops paying the ESLA and then concentrates on paying or diverting that money to pay for electricity in getting real-time tariffs. And the reason why the Energy Commission and the PURC doesn't factor emergency fuel in calculating the end user tariff is because we don't.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity.
Now, should Ghanaians brace themselves for doom so or not?
Absolutely no. Absolutely no. Yesterday, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Energy invited agencies under the Energy Ministry. The minister responsible for energy also joined, Energy and Green Transition joined. At the meeting, they asked for an update on the status of the energy sector in Ghana. The minister updated the committee on the petroleum sector as well as the power. But unfortunately, what has made the news will be the power sector. What the minister expressly said when he was updating on the fuel was that for LCU, that's for liquid fuels, we had 2.6 days available for generation as at yesterday, and that arrangement had been made and that we're expecting parcels of fuel. Unfortunately, that was not captured by the media, so everyone is concentrating on the 2.6 days. So the update is that 450,000 barrels of light crude oil has been imported. We're expecting that we'll receive that parcel of fuel today. So yes, Ghanaians should not be worried at all.
Are we certain that we're going to receive the fuel you're talking about?
Yes, we are certain. What the minister wanted to point out to everybody to see is a challenge. The challenges in the sector at this point in time. Currently, what it is that last year, by December 2024, the sector was challenged with a debt of $3.1 billion. Okay. Beyond that, every month, ECG has a shortfall of about 2 million Ghana cedis. We are looking at an average of 24 billion Ghana cedis. If you add incidental costs, it goes to 30 billion. This does not include the cost of fuel. And this is alarming because what it is that consistently, every time we need fuel, Government of Ghana or Ministry of Finance to be able to assist with that. These are the challenges that the power sector faces, and the minister has said that he's committed to having structural reforms to ensure that the energy sector is cleaned up properly, to give it a clean bill of health.
And we have the money to procure the fuel you're talking about. We have the money ready, everything ready.
The reality is that consistently we have to change the Ministry of Finance for fuel. The Ministry of Finance has its own budget. It's not the best that every time we change the ministry, but that now because of the structure of the tariff, that is what has been ongoing. So we are looking at it. The ministry has proposed to cabinet to take a second look at the tariff structure to include fuel and reserve margin, so that some of these challenges will not happen. Because we need to have a dedicated fund for fuels to power our thermal plants.
And how, Richmond, how is the ministry dealing with the issue of debt in the energy sector?
So immediately, what Cabinet has approved is that all MMDAs should pay for electricity used. Over the period, we've noticed that some MMDAs, don't pay for electricity consumed. Cabinet has, within that directive, given a fiat or what I'll call an exemption for some critical infrastructure, critical institutions. So when you look at the MDAs, as ministries, departments, and agencies, the critical ones that government exempted are 5. You have the Ministry of Interior, you have Ministry of Health, of Education, you have Office of the President, and then Ministry of Defense. Those are the 5. Even under those 5, it is not that they shouldn't make payment at all, no. But these 5, the Ministry of Finance will use a portion of their budget allocation for goods and service to pay for electricity consumed in the month. All other MDAs will be on prepaid metering. Once they have prepayment metering, it means that ECG is going to improve in its collection. Aside that, there's been discussions between the ministry and ECG to ensure that ECG is more efficient. No company can survive with 40% losses. No, absolutely no. That cannot happen. So once their losses we improve with efficiency, we're going to record a better revenue, which will also help the sector. Moving forward as well, averagely every year, we spend about $1 billion, more than $1 billion to import fuel. The government of Ghana is committed to putting together a new gas processing plant. When you compare the price of gas and then LCU, the difference alone is almost 40 to 50% depending on the season. So if you have, for example, last year, if you spent $1 billion on LCU, on liquid fuel, what it means is that if we had a gas processing plant, we would have saved almost. That money is enough to put together a new gas processing plant. And once that is done, we'll also be recording the savings moving forward. So these are some of the structural reforms that the minister is looking at to ensure that we have a better, efficient system. We are not shedding load at all. And if anybody is recording or has done so, these will be outages, what ordinarily we will call localized fault. We recognize that there are challenges in some areas, and the challenges are multifaceted. We know there are areas that have transformer issues, areas that have cabling issues. A typical example is if you have an area where the transformer was made for, let's say, 100 homes, and then you have about 500 or 1,000 homes now on the transformer. Definitely, there's going to be an overload. Once there's an overstrips from time to time, or you experience low voltage, all these are some of the challenges that we face. That's why the ministry is urging ECG to improve on collection, so that the needed investment will be made in the sector to improve on the quality of service.
And we also know of plans to bring on board a new gas processing plant to reduce our reliance on fuel. What can you tell us about this project?
Yes, on the gas, we call it GPP2. On that, this week the minister inaugurated them. We can do the construction. The committee was given about 4 weeks to try and put the report together. Once the committee's report is up, we'll go through the stages and then ensure that construction is done in the next couple of months.
Richmond, just imagine yourself standing in a room where there are 100 people. What would be your message to them? 100 Ghanaians, angry Ghanaians.
What I would say is that one, we recognize that the energy sector is challenged. If you have a sector that is saddled with debt, definitely you're going to have a number of challenges. But the commitment of the government is to ensure that at all material points in time, Ghanaians enjoy reliable, sustainable power at a cheaper cost. And that is what they are doorstep. For now, they are secured of a reliable supply of power.
Richmond Roxon, thank you very much. He's the head of communications at the Energy Ministry. Thank you so much for speaking to us. He says we shouldn't fear, everything is under control. There'll be no doom so. Like some people are expecting. Let's still stay on this. Executive Director for the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Insia, has urged calm over the Energy Minister's assertion that the country has only 2.5 days of fuel left for power generation. Let's listen to him.
There's no any cause for alarm, and I think that in some of these meetings, the minister must know when to communicate in camera and when also to mention some of these things on camera, because stating that we have only 2.6, which is less than 3 days of emergency fuel, will sound in the minds of Ghanaians that we are in a critical situation, that without it, industries and maybe households may suffer, and it creates certain psychological concerns in the minds of Ghanaians that we are likely going to be in doom so in the coming days. I think that is not the case, because for now, all the sources of natural gas are flowing in. Now, the minister also mentioned that, yes, emergency fuel with huge amounts being mentioned, and is expecting the end user should pay for that. I think that that argument does not also stand, because since 2015, the end user, who is also a petroleum user, has always been paying for energy sector debt. We've been paying energy sector debt through energy debt recovery levy. In 2021, we added energy sector recovery levy onto these particular levies, and we have always been paying. So the argument that we don't pay for emergency power, we don't pay for reserve margin, I think the argument doesn't stand. If the minister wants us to stop paying for reserve margin, or wants us to stop paying the ESLA and then fix that in our energy electricity tariff structure, then they should let us know, so that at least the petroleum user stops paying the ESLA and then concentrates on paying or diverting that money to pay for electricity in getting real-time tariffs. And the reason why the Energy Commission and the PURC doesn't factor emergency fuel in calculating the end user tariff is because we don't mostly use it. We use it at a time that we're in emergency. For example, this year, if you look at the energy sector or Energy Commission outlook, we were going to shortfall natural gas supply in the first quarter because WAPCO was going to go through its pay. Jubilee was also going to go through certain maintenances. ENI will do that in September and November. These are the only months that we're expecting the country to have emergency fuel. And even in some part, in the later part of the year, when the hydro, or around June, when the rain begins to fall, and hydro gets its full capacity, normally the hydro mix within our generation increases from the 28 as we're observing today to about 35 sometimes. So this argument that we are not paying reserve margin, so it should be factored in the tariff structure, we are not paying fuel, we should be charged. I think in the wisdom of those who built the tariff, they knew that we didn't need emergency fuel because it's very, very expensive. And we needed natural gas. For example, the state wants to build a phase 2, a natural gas processing plant phase 2. So if you build a natural gas processing plant phase 2 and all our thermal plants are using natural gas, should we go back and say that because all our thermal plants are using natural gas, so we still need to factor emergency fuel in our tariff structure? I think that is not a starter. I think that should be a non-starter for us. Now, lastly, to some of the issues you mentioned with respect to having some of the state-owned entities or MPAs paying for electricity, it's a good call. I think we need to support him on that. Because if you look at the Ghana Energy Sector Recovery Program report, which was published in 2019 by the Ministry of Energy and the World Bank, they stated that annually, arrears in the power sector as a result of people not paying is $150 million. And 80% of that arrears is borne by government. It's government who is not paying. So if the time has come for us to convert some of them, especially those in the afternoon, off-peak hours, to have renewable energy or solar panels for some of them during off-peak hours so that they don't rely much on the feed, I think that is the way to go. If it is about giving them prepay meters, it is also a good way to go. If it's about allocating a budget, allocating an amount in the budget for them to use in paying the electricity, is also another way to go because it ensures cost efficiency and cost effectiveness. That is good thing for us to support the ministry. But the other concerns that we need to add emergency fuel, we need to add reserve margin, I think it's a non-starter because we are paying that through our ESLA levies.
Well, that's the looming power crisis. But let's look at another issue. The Bank of Ghana has clarified that there's no ban on over-the-counter cash withdrawal in foreign currency from bank account. This comes after a Bank of Ghana board member, Isaac Adongo, announced plans to intensify restrictions on over-the-counter dollars withdrawal from financial institutions as part of efforts to curb cedi appreciation. Here's an excerpt of Isaac Adongo's interview with Evans Mensah on PM Express. Some joy.
If you put your dollars in a bank account, it is okay. We are happy with that. But
I need to spend it the way I want.
No, wait. So you can only get dollars if indeed you are going to use it for a dollar-denominated transaction.
Well, why should the BOG bother? It's my dollars.
No,
I put it there.
If you take it, because the central bank is supposed to regulate the use of our legal tender, and our legal tender is the cedi. So if you go to the bank to buy to take your dollars to go and buy fufu, you don't buy fufu in dollars. We will give you cedis to go and buy.
But if there's a fufu seller who wants to sell fufu to me,
because that is illegal. Go and read our laws.
Let's turn to our video wall now and give you some excerpts. The notice on foreign exchange withdrawals pursuant to the Bank of Ghana's mandate under the Foreign Exchange Act 2006, Act 723, and associated notices. The Bank of Ghana wishes to inform the public as follows. 1. Over-the-counter cash withdrawals in foreign currency from foreign exchange accounts and foreign currency accounts are allowed. 2. For non-FEA and non-FCA account holders, forex purchases for travel outside Ghana are allowed, but capped at $10,000 or its equivalent per person per trip. This must be supported by a valid passport, visa, and confirmed travel ticket, as indicated in BOG notice number BG/GOV SEC 2014-09. Checks and checkbooks may continue to be issued on FEA and FCA account, and then the bank has not contemplated reviewing these existing measures. All banks and the public are advised to take note and comply accordingly. So that's a notice on foreign exchange withdrawals from the Bank of Ghana. Now, an economist and a dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, has joined us on the telephone to talk about this. Good afternoon to you and welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana, Professor Gachi.
Thank you.
Now, first of all, what factors contribute to the cedi's recent appreciation? Let's begin from there. What factors?
Well, the underlying factors that we know are the demand and supply factors. What that means is that the policies put in place by the managers of the currency and complemented by the fiscal authorities has controlled demand against supply, and that is what is causing the appreciation of the currency or the good performance of the currency. Then we can break it down to say that some of the policies consolidation in the area of our hold on gold, which culminated in the gold board, galvanizing gold purchase in an orderly manner, that is also contributing to the good performance of the cedi. We also do know that the fiscal management also contributed to the respite of the cedi. Of course, there are some global developments that shows that the main global currency, the dollar, is not performing that well. And for that matter, if you have good policies and management program in place to manage the currency from the Bank of Ghana point of view and from the fiscal authority, the result will be a good show for the